In the month of November around 1911, Marie Curie was returning back to her home after attending the First Solvay Conference at Belgium, Brussels. History recounts, and we all know, that Marie Curie was the only woman who attended the First Solvay Conference, the first time when quantum mechanics was discussed right on the table. Among other luminaries were Max Planck, Henri Canton Lorentz, Ernest Rutherford, Jean-Baptiste Perrin, and a very important friend who would become a person who would carry on relationship with her as a lifelong friend and mentor, Albert Einstein. While returning back home, when Marie Curie was just about to reach her home, she found that an angry mob surrounded her home and they were not allowing Marie Curie to enter her house. They were very angry. Anti-Semitic slogans were being uttered, and they called Marie Curie a Jewish homewrecker, and she is basically an embarrassment, a kind of an utter shame to Paris. What happened at that night? What was that frivolous scandal that surrounded Marie Curie? Why was she unable to enter her house? What was going wrong with her? Was she facing a life threat or something else? Well, in order to know, I would request you to please stay tuned with this video, because in this video I'm going to tell you some very unknown and very important facts from the pages of history about Marie Curie and about a very important letter which is considered to be one of the greatest recounting of letter as well as a motivation which changed the course of entire science. My name is Shaunak and you're watching this video on my channel Physics for Students. Welcome to this very special video. Gifted by a prodigious memory since childhood, Marie Curie was born on the 7th of November 1867. We know, and history recounts, that she was the only woman to receive Nobel Prize in two different areas of science, and she is the first woman to win the Nobel Prize both in physics as well as in chemistry. Now, you can just read on your screen that in 1903, the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences awarded Pierre Curie, Marie Curie and Henri Becquerel the Nobel Prize of Physics for, in recognition of their extraordinary services they have rendered by the joint researches on the radiation phenomena discovered by Professor Henri Becquerel. After the death of her husband, Pierre Curie, Marie Curie received the second prize, and this time it was in chemistry. And you can read on the screen that in recognition of her services for the advancement of chemistry in the discovery of the elements of radium and polonium. Please take a note to the viewers that polonium, the name that Marie Curie coined, was basically from her own motherland, that is Poland, where she was born. Being a patriot, she never forgot her motherland, and still being in France, she taught both her daughter, Irene and Eve, Polish language. And that is why she named the new element as polonium, marking a regard to her motherland. Now, we should remember also that the Curies were prodigious. They received 5 Nobel Prizes in total for the entire family. 2 of them, Marie Curie, physics and chemistry. 1 in physics, her husband Pierre Curie. 1 was basically Irene Juliette Curie, and then son-in-law Jean-Frédéric Juliette Curie. It is astounding, and history has recounted, it has never happened that one family or the prodigious Curies received 5 Nobel Prize, and Marie Curie was among them who has received 2 Nobel Prizes. Now the question is that Marie Curie went on her studies, etc. But what was the time when love is on the air, when she felt in love with someone? Who was that person? Did she marry? 2 Nobel Prizes, how she fell in love, and what did it happen? Coming up in the next part of the video. Marie Curie moved to France in 1891 and she enrolled at the Sorbonne University in Paris. And this was the first time that she met Pierre Curie, and it was not directly that she met, but it was a professor. His name was Joseph, and Joseph actually knew Marie Curie because he sponsored her studies when she was in Warsaw. Now, try to understand that situation, that Marie Curie first meeting her husband Pierre Curie, and right on your screen, this is what she told. As I entered the room, Pierre Curie was standing in the recess of a French window opening on a balcony. He seemed to me very young, though he was at that time 35 years old. This was the first time when Marie Curie met someone she loved, Pierre Curie. But the question is that this meeting, did this meeting turn the entire course of Marie Curie's life? Remember, we are talking about that fateful night when she was unable to enter her own home with her two daughters, Irene and Eve. What actually happened? In order to go before that, we need to first understand that what happened. Did Marie Curie propose to Pierre? Well, what actually happened in Marie Curie's life? Coming up in the next part of our video. Within a year, Pierre asked for Marie's hand, and he wanted to get married with Marie Curie. But Marie Curie was not ready because she was willing to go to Poland and she was willing to go back for her studies. But this was the first obstacle. The Krakow University and the teaching community denied Marie Curie to get a position because she was a woman. Now, it was during this time that Pierre, with her political and other influences, actually managed to secure a position for Marie Curie, and she asked Marie Curie to stay back in France. And on 26th of July 1895, Pierre and Marie Curie got married at CU. Instead of a bridal gown, she asked for something, a kind of a laboratory dress. Now here comes a kind of a, you can say whether it is a comedy or Marie Curie was too practical, that instead of a bridal gown, she asked for something which she could wear daily on her laboratory activities. Right on your screen, this is what she told. I have no dress except the one I wear every day. If you are going to be kind enough to give me one, please let it be practical and dark so that I can put it on afterwards to go to the laboratory. Now this, the historian recounts that Marie Curie was too much practical, rather I would say Pierre was much more romantic, and Marie Curie got married in what is called a laboratory dress instead of wearing a bridal gown. Not only that, the surprises are more. The honeymoon couple, the Curies, took a bicycle and they went around the French villas, etc., the wonderful places in France, instead of going out for an exotic tour during that time. But they took a bicycle, as you can see right on the screen. These are the Curie couples who are going around a bicycle after their marriage. Pierre and Marie had two daughters, Irene and Eve. Now, as you understand that talent recognizes a talent, obviously Pierre and Marie Curie both were phenomenal theoretical physicists and were carrying on their research in physics and other areas. But what actually happened after that? Did they won a Nobel Prize? Was Pierre actually willing Marie to carry on further researches in winning the Nobel Prize, or there was a male chauvinism? Coming up in the next part of our video. In December 1903, the Royal Swedish Academy awarded a Nobel Prize in Physics to Henri Becquerel, Marie Curie and Pierre Curie for their researches on radiation. Now let us remember that Marie Curie's name was actually not mentioned. So at first the committee had intended to honor only Pierre Curie and Henri Becquerel. But a committee member, most of us we do not know, an advocate for women scientists, right there you can see on the picture, his name was the Swedish mathematician Magnus Gösta Mittag Leffler, alerted Pierre to the situation and altered, and after his comment, Marie's name was included. So the viewers, if you are a woman or a girl who is watching this video, please do not get demotivated right now in the 21st century. Being a woman, if you are being denied in mathematics, science or study, it is not only true for you, but it was also true for Marie Curie, the woman who won 2 times the Nobel Prize. Her name was not at first mentioned, and thanks to this person, Magnus Gösta Mittag Leffler, history might have forgot him, but he was the person who referred his name that no, Pierre, you need to include your wife's name, Marie Curie, too also. Curie and her husband Pierre, they declined actually to go to attend to the Nobel Prize ceremony because they were too much busy. But because the winning people will have to present a kind of a speech, so what happened is that Pierre was actually not very, I would say, comfortable with people, and he told that I won't be able to go. But the committee has decided that there should be a kind of a speech. In the year of 1905, they finally took a trip and they went to the Nobel Prize, and Marie Curie and Pierre Curie, along with Henri Becquerel, were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for their researches on radiation. And let us also remember that the money that they received from the Nobel Prize helped them to establish the first laboratory on which they carried on their research. Till now, everything was okay. Marie Curie and Pierre Curie became the first, I would say, first couple in the history of science that they got the Nobel Prize. Everything was quite going well. But would their love life continue like that? Would they continue doing researches and with a happy life with their two daughters coming up nicely? Maybe yes, maybe no. We really don't know. Let us find out in the next part of our video what actually happened after Marie Curie and Pierre won the Nobel Prize in Physics, coming up in the next part of our video. April 1906 was the greatest tragedy in Marie Curie's life. She was widowed. Pierre Curie died, and he was overridden by a running cart which was driven by a few horses, and he suffered immediately from a skull fracture and died on the spot. That was the end of another great talent like Pierre, and Marie Curie was all left alone with her two daughters in this world, where her only way to survive was to dive deep into science, physics and chemistry. Marie Curie grieved for a lot of years, and she could not forget this loss of her husband. Now the question is that, did life stop for Marie Curie? We all know that she had won 2 Nobel Prizes. The first one was with her husband, Pierre Curie. But is it that the second Nobel Prize that she won, especially in the area of chemistry, was she alone? Was there nobody to support her? Was she grieving all alone, or was there a kind of a tender touch, a tender hand, which would tell Marie Curie not to worry, but to carry on her research, because she is one of the greatest assets that Mother Earth has produced? Who was that person that helped Marie Curie after the death of Pierre? Coming up in the next part of our video. In 1911, rumors started to spread that Marie Curie was having an affair with Paul Langevin. Now, Paul Langevin is already a renowned theoretical physicist and supposed to be one of the student of Pierre Curie. Now, you know, the society is always very fond of frivolous scandals, and people will always try to peep in their nose, and they would happy to see somebody and their heroes falling down, falling on the dust. I was reading a letter, I don't remember right now, where Einstein actually wrote to one of his friends that today you're a hero for the public and tomorrow you would be crucified. And remember that today in the 21st century, these scandals were mostly found among peoples of film star, Hollywood, singers, sportsperson. But believe me, during that time also, when we are speaking around 1911, people who reached the best at their zenith, people like Marie Curie and Henry Langevin, also has to suffer for this type of criticism. People would poke into your nose. More dirtier is the scandal, the happier they were. Now, after the death of Pierre Curie, Marie Curie was devastated. Also was Paul Langevin, because Paul Langevin, being a close, student of Pierre, was also feeling very sad. And it was the combination of sadness and brilliance between Langevin and Marie Curie that they started basically an affair. Now, the thing is that there was one problem, that Langevin was married, but she was not happy. Her wife was too dominating, and there were a lot of problems which Langevin was currently suffering with her wife. Madame Langevin was aware of her husband's, I would say, occasional infidelities, but Langevin's affair with Marie Curie was something that Jeanne, Langevin's wife, could not take. And history recounts that Madame Langevin was so furious that she threatened even that she would kill Marie Curie. Langevin told Marie Curie to leave France because he was aware about his wife's activities. Now, the disgruntled wife actually hired a private investigator. We should remember during that time, Paul Langevin and Marie Curie rented a small apartment in Paris where they were meeting. Now, Langevin's wife hired a private investigator, and those investigators broke through their house when they were not present, and they stole certain love letters. Madame Langevin told that until Langevin stops meeting with Marie Curie, she would publish those love letters to the press. Paul Langevin and Marie Curie stopped meeting each other until and unless they were united on the First Solvay Conference, where Marie Curie met Paul Langevin, Max Planck, Ernest Rutherford, Jean-Baptiste Perret, and one very young fellow, Albert Einstein, who would forever remain as her friend. This Albert Einstein created a kind of a significant place in Marie Curie's life. What was that? Why was Curie so fond of Albert Einstein? Coming up in the next part of our video. When Curie returned from the conference, she found that her affair with Langevin has occupied every front page of French tabloid. She was facing a furious mob. They were not allowing Marie Curie to enter her home, and she was with two daughters of her daughters, 14-year-old Irene and 7-year-old Eve. They were telling her to be a Jewish homemaker, an embarrassment, a matter of shame to the entire France Educative Committee. Now, it was during that time that people were so furious. Her two daughters, Irene and Eve, were shocked. And I should remember the name of Émilie Borel, a French mathematician who helped Marie Curie to secure a home at her house during that night. She denied the allegations until another tabloid actually printed some of her love letters with Langevin, and it was told that she was a Jewish homewrecker, and the fact is that she did not carry any Jewish blood. Now, the most important part is that Marie Curie during this time was scheduled for the second Nobel Prize in chemistry. And the entire Stockholm committee was very angry, and they were under tension that if they call Marie Curie to take the prize for the Nobel Prize in chemistry, what would happen? Because the entire scandal might affect the Norwegian committee of the legacy and lineage, and they were writing to Marie Curie that please do not come down to take the Nobel Prize, because it would be a problem, because all the French tabloids, newspapers were throwing dirt and whatnot among the affairs of Langevin and Marie Curie. What a shame! What a massive shame to this entire society who could throw such nuisances to the two greatest physicists, Langevin and Marie Curie. Will Marie Curie go to collect the Nobel Prize in chemistry? I remember the famous line of Shakespeare, to be or not to be, that is the question. And that is the question we are all facing right now. Will Marie Curie go there, collect the Nobel Prize or not? Coming up in the next part of our video. Einstein considered Marie Curie to be an unpretentious person with a sparkling and amazing intelligence. Let us recount that when Marie Curie first met Albert Einstein, Einstein was unable to secure a position in teaching. I would later recount in another video what was the letter, but I will tell you Marie Curie wrote a letter, I would say a letter of recommendation recommending Albert Einstein, and she wrote that if you do not have a place to secure for Albert Einstein, create a chair for this person, because this person is going to make a massive change in the world of theoretical physics. I remember I was just talking to my wife yesterday only that Marie Curie wrote that if you do not have a chair, then please create a chair for Albert Einstein. Anyway, we are coming back to what we are talking, that during that time when Albert Einstein heard about this scandal and all those scams which were, being falsely imposed upon Marie Curie, he got very angry, because remember, Albert Einstein was benefited by the letter of Marie Curie. And this was when Albert Einstein wrote a letter. And he wrote a letter to Marie Curie, which is even relevant today. The viewers who are listening and were feeling down by any kind of criticism from your family, from your friends, that how can you pursue the work as being somebody, as a woman in science, please listen to this letter closely, because this is going to change you. Einstein writes, "Highly esteemed Mrs. Curie, do not laugh at me for writing you without having anything sensible to say, but I am so enraged by the base manner in which the public is presently daring to concern itself with you that I absolutely must give vent to this feeling." So you understand, Einstein is angry. "However, I am convinced that you consistently despise this rabble, whether it is obsequiously lavishes respect on you, or whether it attempts to satiate its lust for sensationalism. I am impelled to tell you how much I have come to admire your intellect, your drive and your honesty, and that I consider myself lucky to have made your personal acquaintance in Brussels." So Einstein is basically recounting the great company that he had with Marie Curie in Brussels. "Anyone who does not number among those reptiles is certainly happy, now as before, that we have such personages among you as you and Langevin too, real people with whom one feels privileged in contact." Now here comes the most important line, and one of the most motivating line which Einstein has ever written. "If the rabble continues to occupy itself with you," rebels in the sense these type of nuisance and those scandals. So he says that if the rabble continues to occupy itself with you, then simply don't read that hogwash. Do not pay any heed to those scandals, but rather leave it to the reptile for whom it has been fabricated. So leave it to those reptiles for whom it has been fabricated, and do not listen to that hogwash, those criticism, because you are a person from science. You need to carry on your research. "With most amicable regards to you, Langevin and Pierre, yours very truly, Albert Einstein." And in the postscript, P.S., Einstein writes, "I have determined the statistical law of motion of the diatomic molecule in Planck's radiation field by means of comical witticism, naturally under the constraint that the structure's motion follows the laws of standard mechanics." Here it is. "The structured motion follows the laws of standard mechanics. My hope that this law is valid in reality is very small though." Now I won't explain you what actually Einstein meant by structural motion follows the laws of classical mechanics. If you have an idea, please do let me know in the comment box. Further, I would like to tell you this Perrin, which Einstein is referring, is actually Jean Perrin, a family friend of Curie's, who actually helped Curie when there was a court trial, and he actually fought with Curie. And this letter, which I just read and which you just saw in the screen, was uncovered by this person, the astrobiologist David Grinspoon, who was perusing through thousands of letters of Einstein, and he made it available to this Princeton University. Now Einstein's letter contains this advice, and what actually happened is that Marie Curie got emboldened by this letter of Einstein, and he finally went to Stockholm to collect her second Nobel Prize in chemistry for the discovery of radium and polonium. Again, to repeat, polonium is the name that Marie Curie did in order to pay respect to her motherland, Poland. The ceremony, people in Stockholm thought that the ceremony would create any kind of a problem, but it passed absolutely beautifully and relief. And not only that, Curie actually had an 11-course dinner, Marie Curie, with the King of Sweden. What after that? The 2 Nobel Prizes have been won. Albert Einstein wrote a letter which actually motivated Marie Curie to go and collect the Nobel Prize. what finally brought to the end of Marie Curie's life, coming up in the next part of our video. Marie Curie died as a result of aplastic anemia, which was caused by excessive, exposure to radiation. Marie Curie's contribution to life and entire science is not only for physics and chemistry, but she actually, motivated a whole generation of physicists, especially women, to come and do a lot of science and mathematics and physics. In 1995, Marie Curie's ashes were enshrined at Pantheon in Paris, and she was the first woman to receive the honor for her own achievements. Right on your screen, you can see her office and laboratory in the Curie Pavilion of the Radium Institute are preserved in Curie Museum. That was the end of one of the greatest and one of the most brilliant mind of science, that is Marie Curie. And you can see now that what actually happened that night and what was that affair with Paul Langevin and how the society actually crucified Marie Curie. And it was during that time that that single person, Albert Einstein's letter, created a kind of a motivation, and it changed the entire course of Curie's life, who went finally and she gathered a Nobel Prize for the second time in chemistry. She, in the Nobel Prize committee, she agreed to the contributions made by her husband, Pierre Curie, but also she told that I alone had made certain advancement, and as a woman I don't depend upon my husband Pierre. So that was what we call the woman of substance. Finally, in 1935, after Marie's death, Einstein had nothing to do, but he was also grieved, and he finally wrote this letter. I came to admire her human grandeur to an ever-growing degree. Her strength, her purity of will, her austerity towards herself, her objectivity, her incorruptible judgment, all these were of a kind seldom found joined in a single individual. If but a small part of Madame Curie's strength of character and devotion were alive in Europe's intellectual, Europe would face a brighter future. These were the last lines, I would say the lines which Einstein wrote on the death of Marie Curie. Thank you for watching this video. I think I have been able to give something important, something which we don't know about Curie's life, about how society behaved with Curie, and finally she is the woman of substance. She is the person who uplifted the light of physics and chemistry, and it is a message to all the people who are listening, especially to the women, that please do not go down, please do not get motivated, please do not listen to the society, because if Marie Curie along with her two daughters can do this, you can also do this. Please do subscribe to my channel Physics for Students. Click on the bell icon to get all the notification from Physics for Students. Thank you for watching this video. I will be waiting for your comments on this particular video. Physics for Students will be soon back with more interesting videos, but till then, may the good Lord be with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching this video. We appreciate your time and patience. If you want to connect with us and provide further feedback, comment or suggestions, please email us at contact.physicsforstudents@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. See you soon in the next video.